gems are all unique. They all have different stories. I love that they're from all over the world. They take time and energy, whether it's from the earth or from human intervention. When people facet stones, they're bringing out what's kind of hidden inside the gemstone, and they can put their own touch on it, and they're definitely pieces of art. We've got a box. Scissors just won't cut it when it comes to what's in this box. All right. Ooh, okay, we've got bright orange, bright blue. Okay, so let's talk about this bright orange stone first. So this is what's called a rose cut. As many of you might know, diamonds, their common form is called an octahedron. So essentially that's two triangles stacked on top of each other. What facetors did, they took the natural form of diamond, they took these pointy ends, they made faceted stones out of them. The rose cut is one of the first cuts. Diamonds are a 10 on the Mohs scale of hardness, so they're the most difficult to facet from a materials perspective because it requires diamond to cut diamond. But you can also find rose cuts in colored stones. That's what we call a briolette. Many of us know gemstones as possessing certain parts of a stone like the table, the crown, the pavilion. A briolette doesn't have any of those things, so it's a variation of the rose cut, a modification where you have a series of kite-shaped and triangular facets. This originated in France in the 1600s with Jean-Baptiste Tavernier. And he created this style for King Louis XIV. It is pretty common in jewelry making. It's a nice variation. Let's go to the next box. Thank you. Ooh, pretty. When people say the word cut, that actually refers to how the stone is faceted and what type of shape the facets possess. When people talk about shape, that's the shape of the stone might be. So for example, you'll see diamond in a round shape, or what's called a round brilliant cut. It's cut this way because this is the faceting style that most enhances diamond's dispersion. It's high dispersion and its brilliance. So the specific angles are created to make light interact in a certain way. However, a brilliant cut is actually a type of cut that can be applied for ovals, for radiance, for cushions, so many other types of shapes. Brilliant cuts are a series of triangular and kite-shaped facets. Of course, these two stones are brilliant cuts. You can see this one possesses a really nice amount of fire. Let's talk about the precursors to the round brilliant, the old European cut and old mine cut. The rose cut evolved into the old mine cut, so a little bit more faceting. You have the development of a table, of a culet, of a girdle, so you have the crown and pavilion. That evolved into the old European, which most resembles the round brilliant. And then once diamond faceting became a little bit more mechanized, the round brilliant cut was developed, so you have a really nice evenness with the stone. So this is a rhodochrosite, and this is in a really cool shield cut. So of course there can be variations of the round brilliant, but typically what you're gonna see is a total of 57 facets, 58 if it has a facet on the culet, which is the point at the very bottom. Most typically you're gonna see 33 facets in the crown at the top, and then you'll have 24 facets in the pavilion. Sometimes the girdle is also faceted. Thank you. Ooh, nice. Let's talk about step cut. So a series of parallel, usually mostly rectangular facets that step down from the table to the girdle, and then from the girdle to what's called a keel line. So if you flip the stone, you can see at the tip of the pavilion, you have a typically straight line at the bottom where the facets come together. It is worth noting that in color gemstones, the point is always to enhance the color and keep the yield as high as possible. So a lapidary is somebody who facets a gemstone. So lapidaries are going to create the biggest carat size possible to enhance the color and to make sure that the stone is aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes that means the cut is not to perfect proportion. Sometimes the facets don't line up super well because the color is more important in color gemstone. So when you get a color gemstone that has that nice precision cutting, you know that that's a really special stone. So here we have a rectangular step cut, a strawberry quartz that also looks like a rectangular step cut, although the table facet is super flat. You're also gonna get, with many rectangular step cuts, truncated corners, so it becomes an octagon. You see this with a lot of emeralds, and what this does is it prevents chipping when it's put into settings and then worn, and so you have jewelry setting considerations to take into account. Of course, you'll hear this rectangular step cut be called an emerald cut because many emeralds are faceted in a rectangular step cut. This really enhances the color of emerald, but also a lot of emeralds are found in longer, more prismatic form. Typically, the rectangular step cut is the best cut that you can get from that yield. So you'll also often hear the term baguette. These are often used as side stones, particularly in engagement rings, but also in a lot of other rings. It's a type of step cut without any truncated corners. It can be rectangular or it can taper at one edge. It's called a tapered baguette. This ring possesses a lot of baguettes, and also technically this stone is a just very large baguette. A popular cut you'll hear of is a cushion cut. So often cushion cuts are mixed cuts. So they have triangular and kite-shaped facets on the top and then some stepping down on the pavilion. This one is a square. Cushion cuts can be kind of anywhere between a square and a rectangle, but they have rounded corners. They're really nice and like a pillow cushion. So that's where it gets its name from. And of course, mixed cuts are really fun because you're able to play with different cutting styles. You're not really limited to one style or another. And this is spinel. It's a nice pinkish purple spinel. And this one, the proportions are pretty good, but pavilion has a decent amount of depth. When the pavilion is deeper, that means the color is gonna get darker. So probably the lapidary saw this and wanted to make it a richer color and therefore made the pavilion a little bit deeper so there was more room for light to interact in the pavilion. Ooh, I like these. Okay, we have a lot of stuff in here. I don't even know where to start. So this is an amazing piece of rutilated quartz. The faceting style is pretty inexplicable. If it were a little bit more indented, it could maybe be lip shaped, but you've got this kind of curvature there. So what you have here is the lapidary is actually trying to enhance the inclusions. So these are inclusions of rutile with rock crystal quartz. That's the colorless element of the quartz, which by the way is super clean and clear. And you have these beautiful golden strands of rutile, and this style is intended to enhance that, to bring that out, to really amplify the inclusions. This would be what's more considered a fantasy cut or a designer cut, where essentially lapidaries can have their way with the stone. Some people use more concave facets. So when you're talking about a faceted stone, facets are flat faces that are polished onto a stone. There's another type of style that you'll get with stones called cabochons. Cabochons are not faceted stones. Cabochons are actually more domed. They're smoother. They're a variation of the heights of the domes. Cabochons are typically used for stones that have a lot of inclusions, that are opaque, that require some sort of optical phenomenon to be enhanced, which we should get out this beautiful 10.95 karat black star spinel. So as you can see, it's a black spinel, so very, very dark. It's pretty opaque. And what's happened here is there are parallel intersecting sets of inclusions. When a pinpoint light is shown on top of the cab, this star effect is formed. You have this amazing star that's reflected. The only way that that effect can be present is with a cabochon cutting style. So you have to have that dome to really enhance that. This stone, likewise, exhibits chatoyancy. So this is a tourmaline. You can tell by the color, the inclusions that are present. And again, when you have plentiful enough inclusions in parallel fashion, you can get this eye effect that's actually perpendicular to the inclusions. And again, it requires this dome shape to be cut out of the stone. But you can see there are a lot of variations in cabochons. You can have a double cab, so you have dome on top and bottom. You can have a single cab, which has a flatter base and a more domed top. You can also have a concave cabochon where essentially the cutter has taken away the underside so that it's kind of like a crescent moon kind of. That's used for stones that are really dark that need some more transparency. So another really beautiful style of cutting is cutting for cameos. So cameos are created when cutters cut out some material to create a certain design. So cameos are raised from the surface. Cameos are often used with materials that are opaque or translucent, that have different colors or different variations of colors that can create a certain design. So as you can see, the contrast of black and white on both of these allows the designer to create a more vivid picture in the white using the black as a backdrop. You'll also see a lot of shell created out of this with that bright orange and white as a contrast. So those are really fun. And then of course you have beads. Beads can be a variety of different styles. These have numerous numbers of facets, but beads also have a drill hold in them at some place so that they can be placed on string. You can see beads present in some of the earliest jewelry styles, and oftentimes beads are created from stones that really are not best suited for faceting. All right, I think we have another box. Okay, so this box is less about a cutting or faceting style and more about how different gems can be created to provide different looks. So these all look to be composites to me. You can have different types of composites, but composites are essentially compositions of multiple gems or items put together to create one item. So this, for example, is something called a Sude emerald. Some of this stuff is site ID. It takes just a little bit of practice. What actually is going on here is you have a thin plate of green material. The crown and the pavilion are actually colorless material. So it's often colorless spinel, it can be glass, but what appears is a nice vibrant green stone that looks like an emerald. So this is actually called a triplet because you have three different components together, but often called a Sude emerald. Turquoise, of course, is very popular, but large pieces of turquoise can be difficult to come by. So this is a composite where different elements of turquoise and other material have been composited together to create this really nice design. So that's a great way to incorporate a lot of colors and varieties to your jewelry if you only have small pieces of different materials. So black opal is a very expensive gemstone, and often what you're gonna have are doublets and triplets with opals because it allows you to have a thin layer of true opal enhanced by other elements. So this is an opal triplet. So essentially you have a black base at the bottom that gives it some stability, a layer of black opal, and then you have a domed colorless top. So that can be a variety of different colorless materials. This would be a cabochon, but also a triplet. Oh my goodness. That's like a treasure trove. This box is really all about designer cut and designer quality. We have a lot of different faceting styles here. We have a heart shape that looks like a brilliant heart. We have these earrings, which are Asher cuts. So those are a series of step cuts. This again is another piece of rutilated quartz. But if you look at the back, it has all of these concave facets, and you can see the front is created just to enhance that rutilated quartz. So you have the diamond right there in the middle. This is a super, super special piece. Quartz typically is not a super expensive gemstone from a materials perspective, but when you add this artistry and you add diamonds and you add this time and energy and effort, it can become a valuable gemstone. And we've got what looks like peridot, that's like a rectangular square checkerboard cut, so it sounds exactly what it looks like. This one's a fun one. This is a delenium cut. So delenium cuts have over 100 facets. You might be asking, why should I care how many facets it has? What is the practical application of that? Well, a facet is another opportunity for light to bounce and to reflect and to refract. And so when you have more angles, you have more opportunity for light to move around, and what you get is a really bright, vibrant, fiery gemstone. All right, so I hope you learned a little bit more about gem faceting, gem cutting, gem shapes, and I hope that this shows you the vast variety that gems can come in. And again, it's all about that artistry, all about enhancing what the gem has already provided for us, whether it's color, inclusions, shape, size, and again, it's such a good reminder that gems are all unique, they're all different, and we're all unique and different, and that's why we all gravitate towards different types of gemstones. So for me personally, I have to choose this rutilated quartz, a favorite for a long time. I love this piece. I really love rutilated quartz, that silkiness, that nice golden sheen of the rutile, and then of course the unique concave and convex facets. I think it's just so cool. So take a closer look. Comments, what's your favorite faceting style or gem cut style? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Thanks for watching.